I bought my entire family their dream vacation. But the day before we left, they gave my seat to my stepbrother. I spent 3 years working double shifts at the hospital to save for it. 2 weeks in Bali. Not for me, for them. The family that forgot I existed the moment my father married Diane. Diane with her perfect hair and calculated smiles. Diane, who called me sweetie while quietly erasing every trace of my mother from our home. Diane and her son Evan, who arrived in our lives with his designer clothes and perpetual victimhood. My father gave Evan my bedroom, the one with the bay window and the star-shaped light fixtures my mother had installed before cancer stole her. He needs the space for his anxiety, Dad explained, moving my things to the basement without meeting my eyes. I didn't argue. Instead, I worked. Every holiday, every weekend, 3 years of missed birthdays and canceled plans. My hands cracked from hospital disinfectant, my spine curved from lifting patients twice my size. Last Christmas, I placed 11 envelopes under the tree. One for Dad, one for Diane, one for Evan, one for each of my 4 siblings, and 3 for their partners. Inside each envelope, first-class tickets to Bali, a private villa reservation, and excursion vouchers. A $47,000 gift, representing about 1,100 hours of overtime. They screamed, they cried, they called me the best big sister ever. Even Evan hugged me, which honestly was his first voluntary touch in the 5 years since he'd moved in. The night before departure, I was packing my swimsuits when Dad appeared in my doorway. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight like he did when he told me Mom wasn't coming home from the hospital. "Sweetheart," he started, "we need to discuss something." Diane materialized behind him, hand on his shoulder, face arranged in that, practiced concern. "Evan's therapist thinks this trip could be transformative for his social anxiety," she said, "but he's nervous about being around strangers." I nodded, confused. "That's why I booked a private villa. No crowds." Dad cleared his throat. "The thing is, the airline made a mistake. They overbooked. Someone has to stay behind." The room tilted slightly. They overbooked 11 first-class seats on an international flight? My voice sounded distant. "That's statistically impossible." Diane's smile tightened. "The important thing is, this trip could change Evan's life. And, your therapist says you're doing really well lately." I didn't have a therapist. "We'll rebook you on a flight tomorrow," Dad added quickly. "You might miss the first excursion, but interrupting who's paying for this new ticket," I interrupted. Silence stretched between us. "Well, since you offered this as a gift," Dad trailed off. And understanding crystallized, cold and sharp right in my chest. They were taking my seat, the one I paid for, and they expected me to buy another international ticket during peak season? I smiled. "Of course." Relief flooded their faces. "I knew you'd understand," Diane said, squeezing my arm. "Family sacrifices for family." That night, after they went to bed, I made 3 calls. The next morning, I drove everyone to the airport, helped with their luggage, and waved as they disappeared through security. Then I returned to the empty house, packed my real suitcase, the one they never saw, and headed to the airport's private terminal, where my own flight was waiting. Not to Bali, to my new apartment in Boston, the one overlooking the harbor, paid for with the refunded first-class ticket I'd secretly canceled weeks earlier after overhearing Diane and Dad planning this little switch. They're probably landing in Bali right now, discovering that their excursion vouchers, hotel reservations, and return flights have mysteriously disappeared, that the credit cards I'd paid off for years have been removed from my accounts. Sometimes, the family that sacrifices for family discovers that sacrifice cuts both ways.